My name is Samantha Wagner. I'm 34 years old and a single mother to my 8-year-old daughter Lily. The call came while I was finishing a grueling shift at the hospital. Child Protective Services. My daughter was in foster care. My parents had abandoned her there before flying to Hawaii with my sister's children. The note they left crushed me. Sorry, sweetie. We just couldn't take care of her. I didn't scream or break down. I quietly filed a report instead. Before I share how I handled this family betrayal, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to see what happened when those hotel doors opened in Hawaii. Life as a single mother had never been easy, but I thought I had finally found my rhythm. 3 years ago, my husband Ryan died in a car accident when a drunk driver hit him on his way home from work. The grief nearly broke me, but I had to stay strong for Lily, who was only 5 at the time. She needed me more than ever, and I promised myself I would give her all the love and stability I could provide. I worked as an emergency room nurse at Memorial Hospital, a job that was both rewarding and exhausting. The irregular hours made childcare a constant challenge. Sometimes I worked overnight shifts, other times 12-hour rotations that left me barely able to keep my eyes open on the drive home. But the flexibility allowed me to spend more time with Lily on my days off, which I treasured above all else. Lily was my world. She had her father's blue eyes and my auburn hair, a sweet combination that never failed to make my heart swell with pride. She was quiet but observant, always carrying her favorite stuffed elephant Winston, who had been a gift from her dad. Despite losing her father, she remained remarkably resilient. Though she still had moments where she would crawl into my bed at night and ask questions about him that broke my heart all over again. "Will Daddy ever come back?" she would ask sometimes, her small voice piercing the darkness. "No, sweetheart," I would answer truthfully. "But he loved you very much, and he's always watching over us." My relationship with my parents had always been complicated. Walter and Margaret Wagner lived in a comfortable suburban home about 30 minutes from us. They were in their early 70s now, still active and healthy, but set in their ways. From my earliest memories, there had been a clear favorite in our household, my older sister Audrey. Audrey was the golden child. She had done everything right according to my parents' standards. She married Thomas Reynolds, a successful investment banker, right after college. They lived in an enormous house in the nicest part of town, with 2 perfectly behaved children, Sophia and Noah, ages 10 and 7. Audrey didn't work outside the home, focusing instead on volunteer committees and fundraisers that kept her in the good graces of the community's elite. I, on the other hand, had been a disappointment in my parents' eyes from the start. I chose nursing instead of the law career my father had mapped out for me. I married Ryan, a firefighter from a working-class family, rather than the doctor's son they had tried to set me up with. And when Ryan died, leaving me a widow at 31, I sensed they viewed it as yet another poor life choice, though they never said it outright. "You should consider moving back home," my mother had suggested after the funeral. "We have plenty of room, and we could help with Lily." "I need my own space, Mom," I had replied. "Lily and I need to build our new normal together." She had pursed her lips disapprovingly, a look I knew all too well. Well, when you realize how difficult it is to raise a child alone while working full-time, don't say I didn't offer. Their criticism of my parenting was constant but subtle. They questioned my decisions about Lily's schooling, her activities, even the foods I allowed her to eat. My mother never missed an opportunity to point out how well-behaved Audrey's children were, how advanced they were in school, how many extracurricular activities they excelled in. "Sophia is already reading at a 6th grade level," she would say. "And Noah is taking advanced math classes. Have you considered testing Lily for the gifted program?" These comparisons stung, especially because Lily was a bright, happy child who was doing well in school and had plenty of friends. She didn't need to be measured against her cousins constantly. The call from the hospital came on a Thursday afternoon. A massive storm system was moving through the area, causing widespread flooding and power outages. The emergency room was severely understaffed due to several nurses being unable to make it in. "Samantha, we desperately need you to cover the next 4 days," said Linda, the charge nurse. "Johnson and Peters are both stranded, and we're expecting casualties from the flooding to start coming in any minute." I glanced at the clock. Lily would be getting out of school in an hour, and my regular babysitter, Jenny, was out of town visiting her grandmother. "I don't have anyone to watch my daughter," I explained. "I understand, but this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. We've got the governor declaring a state of emergency. People are going to die if we don't have enough staff." The gravity of the situation wasn't lost on me. This was exactly why I had become a nurse to begin with, to help people when they needed it most. But my daughter had to come first. "Let me make some calls," I said finally. "I'll get back to you in 20 minutes. I tried everyone I could think of. My neighbor who sometimes watched Lily was dealing with a flooded basement. My friend from Lily's school had evacuated with her family. In desperation, I called my parents. "Mom, I need a huge favor," I said when she answered. "The hospital called me in for emergency shifts because of the storm. Could you and Dad watch Lily for the next 4 days?" There was a long pause. "Well, I don't know, Samantha. Your father and I had plans to take it easy this weekend." "Mom, this is an emergency. People are losing their homes, getting injured. The hospital is desperate for staff." Another pause. "What about Jenny? Isn't she a regular sitter?" "She's out of town." "Mom, please." I wouldn't ask if I had any other options. I heard her speaking to my father away from the phone. Their voices muffled. Finally, she came back on the line. "All right, we can do it. Bring her over within the hour." "Thank you," I said, relief washing over me. "I'll pack everything she needs and be right over." I quickly packed Lily's clothes, her favorite books, Winston the elephant, her toothbrush and hairbrush, and her emergency medication for her mild asthma. I wrote down detailed instructions about her routine, emergency contacts, and food preferences. When I picked her up from school, I explained the situation. "You're going to stay with Grandma and Grandpa for a few days while I help people at the hospital," I told her. Lily's face fell slightly. She liked her grandparents but wasn't particularly close to them. "Will Sophia and Noah be there?" "I don't think so, sweetheart," I said. "But I'll call you every day, I promise." When we arrived at my parents' house, my mother opened the door with a tight smile. "Hello, Lily," she said, giving her a stiff hug. "Your grandfather is watching TV in the den." I carried Lily's bags inside and went through all the instructions with my mother. She needs her inhaler if she starts wheezing, which might happen with all the moisture in the air from the storm. It's in the front pocket of her backpack. She likes to read before bed, and Winston goes everywhere with her. I wrote down her school information in case the closures end before I'm back. My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Samantha, I raised 2 children. I think I can handle 1 grandchild for a few days." I knelt down to hug Lily goodbye. "Be good for Grandma and Grandpa." "Okay. I love you so much, and I'll call you tonight." "I love you too, Mommy," she whispered, clutching Winston tightly. I saw uncertainty in her eyes, and it made my heart ache to leave her. "It's only for a few days," I reassured her. "I'll be back before you know it." As I drove to the hospital, a nagging worry gnawed at me. I tried to push it aside. My parents might not be the warmest people, but they were reliable and responsible. Lily would be fine. The next 4 days were among the most grueling of my career. The emergency room was overwhelmed with patients suffering from injuries related to the storm. Broken bones from falls, lacerations from debris, respiratory issues from water inhalation, and heart attacks triggered by the stress of evacuation. I worked 16-hour shifts, grabbing sleep when I could in the break room. The few times I managed to call home, the conversations were brief. "Everything's fine," my mother assured me on the second day. "Lily's watching television. Can I talk to her?" I asked. She's in the middle of a program. I'll have her call you back. Lily did call back an hour later, but she seemed subdued. Are you having fun with Grandma and Grandpa? I asked. It's okay, she said quietly. When are you coming back? Just 2 more days, sweetie. Are they taking good care of you? Grandma made spaghetti. She said I eat too slowly. That was typical of my mother. Always critical of small things. Just do your best, okay? I miss you so much. I miss you too, Mommy. Winston misses you. On the 3rd day, I couldn't reach anyone at my parents' house. I called repeatedly throughout my short break, but no one answered. I left messages, trying not to let anxiety overtake me. Mom, it's Samantha. Please call me back when you get this. I just want to check on Lily. By the evening of the 4th day, the worst of the emergency had passed. I was exhausted but relieved that my shift was ending and I could go get Lily in the morning. I tried calling my parents one more time before collapsing into bed in the hospital's rest area, but again, there was no answer. I woke to my phone ringing. Groggily, I checked the time. 7:43 a.m. An unfamiliar number was displayed on the screen. Hello. I answered, my voice rough from sleep. Is this Samantha Wagner? A woman's voice asked. Yes, this is she. Ms. Wagner. My name is Julia Thompson. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services. I'm calling about your daughter, Lily Wagner. My heart stopped. I sat bolt upright, instantly wide awake. What about my daughter? What's happened? Ms. Wagner, I regret to inform you that your daughter is currently in our temporary care facility. She was brought in yesterday afternoon by the police after being found alone at the Sunny Grove Park. The room started spinning. What? That's impossible. She's with my parents. I'm a nurse at Memorial Hospital. We've had a state of emergency, and I've been working mandatory shifts. My parents are watching her. I understand this must be shocking, Ms. Thompson said. Her voice professional but sympathetic. According to the report, your daughter was found by a concerned citizen who saw her sitting alone on a bench for several hours. When approached, she told them her grandparents had left her there. This has to be a mistake, I said, grabbing my purse and keys, already heading for the door. Where is she? I need to see her immediately. She's at the Children's Haven Center on 42nd Street. I can meet you there in 30 minutes to discuss the situation. I'll be there in 20, I said, ending the call. I drove like a woman possessed, my mind racing through terrible scenarios. Had my parents been in an accident? Had something happened to them, forcing them to leave Lily somewhere? But why would they leave her in a park? It made no sense. The Children's Haven Center was a plain brick building with a small playground to one side. I rushed inside, barely registering with the receptionist before demanding to see my daughter. I'm Samantha Wagner. My daughter Lily was brought here yesterday. I need to see her right now. A woman in her 40s with a kind face approached me. Ms. Wagner? I'm Julia Thompson. We spoke on the phone. Where's my daughter? I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. She's having breakfast. I'll take you to her, but first, can we speak privately for a moment? After I see my daughter, I insisted. MS. Thompson nodded and led me down a hallway to a small cafeteria where about a dozen children sat at tables, supervised by staff members. I spotted Lily immediately, sitting alone at a table, pushing cereal around in a bowl. Winston the elephant was clutched in her free hand. Lily, I called. She looked up, her face lighting up. Mommy. She jumped from her chair and ran to me. I knelt down and caught her in a tight embrace, tears streaming down my face. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I asked, checking her over. I'm okay, she said, her small hands touching my wet cheeks. Don't cry, Mommy. I held her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. I was so worried about you. Miss Thompson approached us. Lily, would it be okay if MS Rodriguez took you to get your things while I talked to your mom for a few minutes? Lily looked at me uncertainly. I nodded. It's okay, sweetie. I'm not going anywhere. We'll be going home very soon. After Lily had gone with another staff member, Ms. Thompson led me to a small office. Ms. Wagner, I need to understand the circumstances that led to your daughter being left unsupervised in a public park, she said, opening a folder on her desk. I don't understand it either, I said honestly. I'm an ER nurse at Memorial Hospital. We've been dealing with the aftermath of the flooding. I left Lily with my parents, Walter and Margaret Wagner, 4 days ago when I was called in for emergency shifts. I spoke to them and to Lily on the phone the first 2 days. Yesterday, I couldn't reach them. But I assumed they were busy or the lines were down because of the storm. According to Lily, her grandparents took her to the park yesterday morning and told her to sit on the bench and wait for a few minutes. They never returned. I felt physically ill. That's impossible. My parents wouldn't do that. Ms. Thompson slid a note across the desk. This was found in your daughter's backpack. With trembling hands, I picked up the note. It was my mother's handwriting. Samantha, sorry, sweetie, we just couldn't take care of her. We've had this trip planned with Audrey and her family for months. Lily will be fine at the park until you're done with work. There are plenty of families around. Margaret. I stared at the note in disbelief. They went on a trip? They abandoned my daughter in a park to go on a vacation? Lily mentioned they were going to Hawaii with her aunt and cousins, Ms. Thompson confirmed. We've been trying to contact your parents, but their phones appear to be turned off. A cold fury unlike anything I'd ever felt began to build inside me. I need to take my daughter home now, I said, my voice shaking with barely controlled rage. I understand. But there are procedures we need to follow. Given the circumstances, we need to ensure Lily's safety and well-being. I'm her mother, I said firmly. I left her in what I believed was safe care during an emergency situation. I work at Memorial Hospital. You can call my supervisor, Linda Roberts, to verify everything I've told you. MS. Thompson nodded. We will need to do a home check and verify your employment. There will also need to be a follow-up investigation regarding your parents' actions, which constitute child abandonment. I'll cooperate fully, I assured her. But I need to take my daughter home today. She's been through enough trauma already. After what felt like endless paperwork, interviews, and phone calls to verify my identity and situation, I was finally allowed to take Lily home. The entire drive, she clutched Winston tightly and stared out the window. Lily, sweetheart, I said gently, can you tell me what happened with Grandma and Grandpa? She looked down at Winston. They said they had to go on a special trip with Sophia and Noah. Grandma said they couldn't take me because I'm too much work. Each word was like a knife to my heart. Did they say anything else? Grandma was talking on the phone with Aunt Audrey. She said you should have found someone else to watch me because they had important plans. Then Grandpa took me to the park and said to wait on the bench. He gave me my backpack and said you would come find me after work. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Did they tell you they were going to Hawaii? Lily nodded. Sophia called while Grandma was packing. She said she was excited to go swimming with dolphins in Hawaii. Grandma said they've been planning it for a long time. When we got home, I helped Lily settle in with a warm bath and her favorite pajamas. I called the hospital to request a few days off for a family emergency, which they granted immediately given the circumstances. Then I began searching for evidence of this planned trip. It didn't take long to find. On Facebook, my sister had posted photos just hours earlier. Family vacation time. So excited for 5 days in paradise with Mom, Dad, and the kids. The photos showed my parents, Audrey, her husband Thomas, and their children Sophia and Noah, all smiling in front of a luxury resort in Maui. I stared at the images, trying to comprehend the level of betrayal. They had abandoned an 8-year-old child, my child, in a public park, to go on a vacation they hadn't bothered to mention to me. A vacation they apparently valued more than Lily's safety. After putting Lily to bed, I sat down with her and gently asked more questions about her time with my parents. What emerged was even more disturbing. Grandma got mad when I asked for my inhaler, Lily told me. She said I was being dramatic about my breathing. Did you have trouble breathing? I asked, alarmed. A little bit on Tuesday. But I used my inhaler when Grandma was on the phone. Did they feed you properly? Did you get enough to eat? Lily shrugged. Grandma said I eat too slow. She took my plate away a couple times before I was done. And what about Wednesday and Thursday? Before they took you to the park. They started packing on Wednesday. Grandma told me not to touch anything. I had to sit in the guest room and be quiet. She said I was in the way. Did she tell you they were planning to leave you at the park? Lily shook her head. Grandpa just said to wait and you would come. But it got dark and you didn't come. Her voice trembled. A lady asked if I was lost, and I said my grandpa told me to wait. Then she called the police. I pulled her into a tight hug, fighting back tears. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I would have come right away if I'd known. I would never, ever leave you alone like that. I know, Mommy, she whispered. I told the nice lady at the center that you didn't know. I told her you're the best mommy ever. My decision was made instantly. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or poor judgment. This was a deliberate, calculated act of child abandonment. My parents had willfully endangered my daughter for their own convenience. And from what Lily described, it seemed the plan had been in place even when I'd called to ask them to watch her. The next morning, after making sure Lily was comfortable watching cartoons in the living room, I made 2 important calls. The first was to Jessica Palmer, a family law attorney I'd met through a hospital fundraiser. I need legal advice regarding child abandonment, I explained after briefly recounting what had happened. This is a serious situation, Jessica said. What your parents did constitutes criminal child abandonment, which is a felony in our state. As Lily's mother, you have every right to press charges. What would that involve? I asked. You would need to file a formal report with the police, providing all the evidence you have, including the note they left and any text messages or call records. Child Protective Services is already involved, which helps establish the case. The authorities would then investigate and potentially charge your parents. And my sister? She seems to have been part of this plan. If she knew about the plan to abandon Lily and participated in it, she could potentially face charges as an accessory. But that would depend on the evidence and the prosecutor's discretion. I thanked her for the information and then made my second call to the local police department. I explained the situation and was asked to come in to file a formal report. At the police station, I met with Officer Davis, a middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense demeanor. Let me understand this correctly, she said after I'd explained everything. Your parents agreed to watch your 8-year-old daughter while you worked emergency shifts during a natural disaster. Then, without informing you, they abandoned her in a public park so they could go on vacation to Hawaii with your sister's family. Yes, I confirmed. I have the note they left. Text messages showing they agreed to watch her, and photos from social media confirming they're in Hawaii now with my sister's family. Officer Davis's expression hardened. And you've spoken with CPS already? Yes, they've interviewed Lily and me, and they're conducting their own investigation. We'll need to coordinate with them. Child abandonment is a serious crime, Ms. Wagner. It carries penalties including jail time in severe cases like this. I understand, I said. And I want to press charges. They left my daughter alone in a park. Anything could have happened to her. We'll need to contact the authorities in Hawaii to locate your parents. Do you know where they're staying? I showed her the social media posts. Based on these photos, they're at the Royal Hawaiian Resort in Maui. Officer Davis nodded and began typing notes. We'll get in touch with the Maui Police Department immediately. They'll likely conduct a welfare check and interview your parents before deciding whether to detain them there or allow them to return home to face charges here. What happens next? I asked. We'll process this report and forward it to the district attorney's office. They'll determine what charges to file. In the meantime, focus on taking care of your daughter. We'll keep you updated on developments." I left the police station feeling strangely calm. For years, I had absorbed my parents' judgment and criticism, always second-guessing myself, wondering if I was really the inadequate daughter and mother they seemed to think I was. But in this moment, I knew with absolute certainty that I was doing the right thing. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The first call from my parents came that evening. I was helping Lily with a puzzle when my phone rang, displaying my father's number. "Samantha." "What the hell is going on?" he demanded when I answered. "The police just showed up at our hotel room." "I think you know exactly what's going on, Dad," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "You abandoned Lily in a park so you could go on vacation." "We did not abandon her," he sputtered. "We left her in a safe, public place temporarily." "You left an 8-year-old child alone in a park with no supervision, no food, no shelter, and no certainty of when or if anyone would come for her. That's the definition of abandonment. We knew you'd be done with your shift soon. The park is only 15 minutes from the hospital. We calculated that you'd be able to pick her up within an hour of your shift ending." The cold calculation in his voice chilled me. "And you didn't think to call me? To make sure I knew where she was? What if I'd worked overtime? What if I'd gone home first, not knowing she was sitting alone in a park?" "You're blowing this out of proportion," he insisted. "The park was full of families. She was perfectly safe. She was found by a stranger after sitting there for hours, Dad. The police were called. She spent the night in a foster care facility." "How is that perfectly safe? This is ridiculous. We've done nothing wrong. We took care of her for days while you were working. We deserved our vacation. You agreed to watch her until I finished my shifts. You didn't mention any vacation plans. We've had this trip planned for months. Audrey invited us to join her family in Hawaii. We weren't going to miss it just because you couldn't find proper childcare. So you decided abandoning Lily was the solution? Did you even consider how terrified she would be? She's fine, isn't she? Children are resilient. Now call off these police and stop this nonsense." "No," I said firmly. "What you did was child abandonment, and it's a felony. I've filed a formal report, and I'm pressing charges." There was a moment of stunned silence before my father exploded. "You ungrateful little. After everything we've done for you. We raised you, supported you through nursing school, helped you after Ryan died. And this is how you repay us? You left my child alone in a park," I repeated. "Nothing you've ever done for me justifies that." "You'll regret this, Samantha," he threatened. "If you pursue this, you can forget about ever getting any support from us again. No more emergency babysitting. No more financial help, nothing." I laughed without humor. "I think we established that your emergency babysitting isn't something I can rely on anyway." After I hung up, my phone immediately rang again. This time it was Audrey. "What is wrong with you?" She shrieked without preamble. "You had the police detain our parents at our hotel? You've completely ruined our vacation. Audrey, they abandoned Lily in a park. She could have been kidnapped, hurt, or worse." "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It was a safe neighborhood park. They made sure of that." "So you knew about this plan?" I asked, my suspicion confirmed. "Of course I knew. We've had this trip planned for months. When you dumped Lily on them at the last minute, what were they supposed to do? Cancel our family vacation? They were supposed to tell me they couldn't watch her, or at minimum, tell me they needed to leave so I could make other arrangements. Not abandon her in a park without telling anyone." "Mom left you a note," Audrey said dismissively. "In Lily's backpack, which was with Lily alone in the park. A note doesn't make child abandonment okay. You're overreacting as usual. This is why Mom and Dad get so frustrated with you. You're always playing the victim. My daughter spent the night in foster care because her grandparents abandoned her. How am I playing the victim by holding them accountable? By pressing criminal charges against our parents. Do you have any idea how this will affect our family? What people will say? Did you even think about how this will impact Sophia and Noah, seeing their grandparents treated like criminals? Did you think about how being abandoned in a park would impact Lily? I countered. Did any of you consider her feelings for even a second? It's different with Lily, Audrey said, her voice suddenly quieter. What's different about Lily? She's just more work. She's quiet and weird with that elephant always in her hand. She doesn't participate like Sophia and Noah do. Mom says watching her is like watching a ghost. I was speechless with rage. My daughter is not weird. She's a sweet, thoughtful child who lost her father at a young age. And that elephant was the last gift her father gave her before he died. The fact that none of you have bothered to learn anything about her or show her an ounce of compassion tells me everything I need to know about this family. Well, if you go through with this, you won't have a family anymore, Audrey threatened. Mom and Dad are furious, and so am I. You'll be cut off completely. I already am, I replied, ending the call. Over the next few days, the pressure from extended family began. My uncle called to tell me I was tearing the family apart. My cousin sent me a long text about forgiveness and family bonds. Even my mother's sister, Aunt Patricia, who had always been kind to me, called to suggest I was overreacting. Your parents made a mistake, Samantha, she said gently. But pressing charges? That seems extreme. They abandoned an 8-year-old child in a public park, Aunt Patricia. They endangered her life for a vacation. How is holding them accountable extreme? Family matters should be handled within the family, she insisted. This public legal drama won't help anyone. It will help ensure no other child in our family is ever treated this way again. I replied, and it will show Lily that she matters, that she deserves to be protected and valued. Throughout it all, I worried most about how Lily was coping. She had become quieter since the incident, clinging to Winston more than usual and having trouble sleeping. After a particularly bad night where she woke up crying, I decided to seek professional help. Dr. Rachel Moore was a child psychologist recommended by Lily's pediatrician. She had a warm office filled with toys and books, designed to make children feel comfortable. Lily has experienced a significant trauma, Dr. Moore explained after their first session. Being abandoned by trusted caregivers can cause profound feelings of insecurity and fear. Will she be okay? I asked anxiously. Children are remarkably resilient, especially when they have a secure primary attachment, which Lily clearly has with you. But it will take time for her to process what happened and rebuild her sense of security. What can I do to help her? Maintain consistent routines, reassure her often that you're there for her, and be honest about what happened in age-appropriate ways. Don't vilify her grandparents, but don't minimize what they did either. She needs to understand that their actions were wrong and not her fault. Lily and I began regular sessions with Dr. Moore, sometimes together, sometimes with Lily seeing her alone. Slowly, I started to see small improvements. Lily began sleeping through the night again. She started talking more about her feelings. I was scared when it got dark, she told me one night as I tucked her in. But I knew you would find me eventually. You always come back. Always, I promised, kissing her forehead. I will always come back for you. 3 days after I filed the police report, I received a call from Officer Davis. Ms. Wagner, I wanted to update you on the situation. The Maui Police Department located your parents at their hotel and conducted an interview regarding the abandonment allegations. What happened? I asked. They initially denied any wrongdoing, but when confronted with the evidence, including the note they left and statements from witnesses at the park who saw your father leave your daughter there, they admitted to the essential facts. They've been informed that they need to return to our jurisdiction immediately to face potential charges. And did they agree to return? They've booked flights back for tomorrow. The DA's office is reviewing the case now to determine what charges will be filed. Given the circumstances, they're considering felony child endangerment and abandonment charges. What about my sister? She knew about the plan. We're investigating her involvement. If she had prior knowledge and participated in the planning, she could potentially face accessory charges, though that's less certain at this point. I thanked Officer Davis for the update, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. I hadn't wanted any of this. All I had wanted was for my parents to care for Lily as they would have cared for Sophia and Noah. The fact that they couldn't do that they saw her as so dispensable, was heartbreaking. The day my parents were due to return, I received another call, this time from the district attorney's office. An assistant DA named Mark Wilson wanted to meet with me to discuss the case. Based on the evidence we've reviewed, we believe we have a strong case for child abandonment against your parents, he explained when we met at his office. However, I want to be transparent about what pursuing these charges will mean for your family. I understand it will be difficult, I said. But what they did was unforgivable. It will mean a public trial where all the details will come out. Your daughter may need to testify, though we'll try to avoid that if possible. Your parents, if convicted, could face jail time. Though given their age and lack of prior record, probation and significant community service is more likely. And my sister? We're still evaluating her level of involvement. From what we can determine so far, she knew about their plan to leave your daughter, but she may not have known they intended to leave her unsupervised in a park. That distinction matters legally. What happens next? I asked. Your parents will be formally charged when they return. There will be an arraignment where they'll enter a plea. If they plead not guilty, we'll proceed toward a trial. If they plead guilty, we'll move to sentencing. And if they try to contact Lily, you can request a temporary restraining order to prevent any contact. Given the circumstances, it would likely be granted. When I left the DA's office, I felt the weight of what was to come. This would be a painful, public process that would permanently alter my family. But when I thought of Lily sitting alone on that park bench as darkness fell, I knew I couldn't back down. The day after my parents returned, they were formally charged with child abandonment, a Class D felony in our state. The news made the local paper, a small article on page 3. Grandparents charged with abandoning child for Hawaiian vacation. My phone rang almost immediately. It was my mother. Are you satisfied now? She asked, her voice icy. Our names are in the paper. People we've known for decades are calling us, asking what happened. Your father's golf club is considering revoking his membership. I'm not taking any satisfaction in this, I replied truthfully. But actions have consequences. We took care of your child for days, she insisted. We fed her, housed her, made sure she was safe. And then you abandoned her in a park without telling anyone where she was. We left a note in her backpack with her, alone in a park. Mom. Do you honestly not understand how dangerous that was? How terrified she must have been sitting there as it got dark, wondering if anyone was coming for her. There was a pause. We thought you would find her quickly, she said finally, her voice smaller. How? I had no idea where she was. I thought she was safe with you. We had been planning this trip with Audrey for months, she said, as if that explained everything. It was supposed to be a special time with Sophia and Noah. When you called asking us to take Lily, we didn't want to say no, but we couldn't miss the trip. So you chose a vacation over my daughter's safety, over your own granddaughter. It's not that simple, Samantha. It is that simple, Mom. You made a choice, and now you're facing the consequences. The next day, I received a call from the district attorney's office. My parents wanted to meet with me in the presence of their attorney and the assistant DA. They were considering a plea deal and wanted to speak with me first. The meeting was set for the courthouse, in a small conference room. When I arrived, my parents were already there, sitting with a gray-haired man in an expensive suit who I assumed was their lawyer. Assistant DA Wilson was there as well. My father looked older than I remembered, his face drawn with stress. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed, her usually perfect makeup subdued. Neither of them met my gaze as I took a seat across from them. "Ms. Wagner, thank you for coming," Wilson began. "Your parents have expressed interest in a plea agreement, but they wanted to speak with you first." Their lawyer cleared his throat. "My clients are prepared to plead guilty to a reduced charge of reckless endangerment of a child, a misdemeanor, in exchange for a suspended sentence and community service. Before finalizing this agreement, they wanted to explain themselves to their daughter." I looked at my parents. "I'm listening." My father spoke first. "Samantha, what we did was wrong. We should never have left Lily alone in that park. We were thoughtless and selfish." "Why did you do it?" I asked. "The truth, please." My mother looked up, finally meeting my eyes. "We've always struggled with Lily," she admitted. "She's so different from Sophia and Noah. They're outgoing, they laugh at our jokes. They want to do activities with us. Lily is so quiet, always clutching that elephant, watching everything but saying very little. We find it unsettling. She's a child who lost her father," I said, keeping my voice level. "She's naturally more reserved and cautious. That doesn't make her less worthy of love and protection." "We know that," my father said quickly. "Intellectually, we know that. But we've never connected with her the way we have with Audrey's children. And when this trip came up, a special time with Sophia and Noah in Hawaii, we didn't want to miss it. So you chose them over Lily." "We made a terrible mistake," my mother said, a tear sliding down her cheek. "We convinced ourselves she would be fine for a few hours, that you would find her quickly and understand. We didn't think about how frightened she would be." "Did Audrey know you were going to leave Lily in the park?" I asked. My parents exchanged glances. "She knew we were planning to leave Lily somewhere you could find her," my father admitted. "The specific plan to leave her at the park was ours. And she was okay with this?" My mother hesitated. "She suggested we could just leave Lily with a note and meet them at the airport. She said you had put us in an impossible position by asking us to babysit during their planned vacation." The confirmation of Audrey's involvement stung, though it wasn't surprising. She had always been skilled at influencing our parents while keeping her own hands clean. "What happens now?" I asked, turning to the assistant DA. "If you're amenable to the plea deal, your parents would plead guilty to the reduced charge. They would receive a suspended sentence, meaning no jail time unless they violate the terms of their probation. They would be required to complete 200 hours of community service each, preferably related to child welfare, and attend parenting and grandparenting classes. They would also be required to pay for any therapy Lily needs related to this incident. And if I'm not amenable, then we proceed with the original felony charges, which would likely result in a trial." I looked at my parents, these people who had raised me but had always made me feel second best, who had extended that same conditional love to my daughter, finding her lacking compared to her cousins. "I'll agree to the plea deal on one condition," I said finally. "They need to explain to Lily, in person, with her therapist present, why they left her in that park. She deserves to hear it from them, not just from me." My parents looked alarmed. "Samantha, I don't think that's appropriate," my mother began. "It's entirely appropriate," I cut her off. "Lily is confused and hurt. She doesn't understand why her grandparents, people who are supposed to love and protect her, would leave her alone in a park. You owe her an explanation." After a whispered conference with their lawyer, they reluctantly agreed. The meeting with Lily was arranged for the following week at Dr. Moore's office. Lily sat between Dr. Moore and me on a comfortable couch, while my parents sat across from us in armchairs. Winston the elephant was clutched tightly in Lily's arms. "Lily," Dr. Moore began gently, "your grandparents have something they want to say to you about what happened at the park. Would you like to hear it?" Lily nodded silently, her eyes fixed on Winston rather than on her grandparents. My father cleared his throat. "Lily, what Grandma and I did was very wrong. We should never have left you alone in that park. We made a terrible mistake, and we're very sorry. Why did you leave me? Lily asked, her voice small but steady. Was I bad? No, sweetheart, my mother said, her voice cracking slightly. You weren't bad at all. We were bad grandparents. We had planned a trip with Aunt Audrey and your cousins, and we were selfish. We wanted to go on the trip more than we wanted to take care of you properly. We thought your mom would find you quickly, my father added. We didn't think about how scared you would be. That was very wrong of us. Did you leave because I'm too quiet? Lily asked. Grandma said I'm too quiet and it's weird. My mother flushed with shame. I shouldn't have said that, Lily. There's nothing wrong with being quiet. Different people have different personalities. And that's okay. It wasn't about you at all. It was about us being selfish and making bad choices. Your mom is a wonderful mother, my father said, looking at me with what seemed like genuine remorse. She would never leave you alone like that. What happened was our fault, not yours and not your mom's. After the meeting, Dr. Moore spoke with Lily alone, then with me. I think this was a positive step, she told me. Lily needed to hear directly from her grandparents that their actions weren't her fault. It will take time for her to process everything, but this helps provide some closure. What about their relationship with Lily going forward? I asked. That's something you'll need to decide as her mother. If you do allow contact, it should be supervised and gradual. Lily needs to rebuild trust, and that won't happen overnight. In the end, my parents accepted the plea deal. The court approved the arrangement, and they began their community service at a children's shelter, ironically similar to the one where Lily had spent the night after being abandoned. Audrey was not charged, though her relationship with me was effectively over. She made no attempt to apologize for her role in what happened, instead painting herself as the victim of my vindictiveness to anyone who would listen. You've destroyed our family. She texted me after my parents' court appearance. I hope you're happy. Our family was already broken, I replied. All I did was refuse to pretend otherwise anymore. The weeks that followed were focused on healing, both for Lily and for me. I requested a change in my work schedule at the hospital, moving from the unpredictable emergency room rotations to a more structured position in the pediatric ward. The regular hours meant I could be home with Lily every evening, providing the stability she needed. Linda, my supervisor, was incredibly supportive. You've been one of our best ER nurses for years, Samantha, she told me. But family comes first. We're happy to accommodate your schedule change. Several of my colleagues reached out after hearing what had happened, offering help with childcare in emergencies. Janet, a fellow nurse with grown children, gave me her number. Day or night, if you need someone to watch Lily, call me. I've been a single mom too. I know how hard it is. Their kindness moved me to tears. For years, I had tried to do everything alone, reluctant to ask for help except from my parents. Now I was building a network of support that was more reliable and loving than my blood relatives had ever been. Lily and I continued our sessions with Dr. Moore, both individually and together. Gradually, I saw my daughter's confidence returning. She still carried Winston everywhere, but she was sleeping better, laughing more, and talking about her feelings instead of keeping them bottled up. Mom, she asked one night as I tucked her in, are Grandma and Grandpa bad people? I considered the question carefully. No, honey. They're not bad people. They made a very bad choice that hurt you, and that was wrong. But people can make bad choices without being bad people. Will I see them again? Would you like to? I asked gently. She thought about it. Maybe someday. Not yet. That's okay. You don't have to decide now. And whatever you decide is fine with me. One Saturday morning, about 3 months after the incident, I received a tentative call from my mother. Samantha, she began, her voice subdued. I'm calling to see how you and Lily are doing. We're doing better, I said cautiously. Lily's seeing a therapist, and it's helping. That's good. I'm glad. There was a pause. Your father and I have been doing our community service at the children's shelter. It's been eye-opening. Some of these children have been through terrible things. It's made us realize how fortunate we've been and how thoughtlessly we've acted. It was the closest thing to genuine remorse I'd heard from her. I'm glad you're learning from the experience, I said. We've also been attending those grandparenting classes the court ordered. They've helped us understand some things about ourselves, about the way we've treated you and Lily compared to Audrey and her children. And what have you understood? That we've been unfair. That we've held you to different standards. That we failed to appreciate Lily for who she is instead of comparing her to her cousins. She paused. We failed as grandparents and in many ways. As parents too. The admission surprised me. My mother had never been one to acknowledge fault. Thank you for saying that, I said. It means a lot to hear. Would it be possible? Do you think Lily might be willing to see us sometime? Not right away, but when she's ready. We'd like a chance to try to be better grandparents. That would be up to Lily, I replied. Right now. She's still processing what happened. But if and when she's ready, we could consider supervised visits. That's fair. More than fair, given what we did. After hanging up, I sat thinking about forgiveness and family. The wounds were still fresh, the betrayal still raw. But people could change, couldn't they? Even after decades of established patterns. Even after terrible mistakes, change was possible. I had to believe that, not just for my parents' sake, but for my own healing. Audrey, on the other hand, had made no attempts at reconciliation. According to my mother, she was furious that our parents had capitulated by accepting the plea deal and apologizing. She had forbidden them from mentioning me or Lily in front of Sophia and Noah, effectively erasing us from their version of the family. It hurt, but not as much as I might have expected. The truth was, Audrey and I had never been close, even as children. The forced family gatherings where my parents fawned over her achievements while politely acknowledging mine had been performative at best. Perhaps it was better to admit the relationship was broken beyond repair than to continue pretending. 1 year after the park incident, our lives had found a new rhythm. I had settled into my role in the pediatric ward, where my regular schedule allowed me to be home for Lily every evening. She was thriving in school, had made new friends. And while she still carried Winston with her most places, she no longer clung to him quite so desperately. We had built a support network of friends and neighbors who had become like family. Janet from the hospital had become a regular presence in our lives, often picking Lily up from school when I had to work late or bringing over dinner on busy days. Our neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez, a retired teacher, helped Lily with homework and taught her to bake cookies on Saturday afternoons. My parents had completed their community service and continued volunteering at the children's shelter even after their required hours were finished. They had begun having supervised visits with Lily once a month, short meetings at first that gradually lengthened as Lily became more comfortable with them. They were different with her now. More attentive, more accepting of her quiet nature. Lily showed me her science project today, my mother told me after one visit. She's so smart, Samantha. The way she explained everything. I never realized how thoughtful she is. It was a small thing, this acknowledgement of Lily's intelligence and thoughtfulness, but it meant something. It meant my mother was finally seeing my daughter for who she was, not who she wasn't. The most profound changes, though, were within me. For years, I had sought my parents' approval. Had measured my worth through their eyes, had absorbed their criticism and judgment without question. The park incident had shattered that pattern. In standing up for Lily, in refusing to accept their behavior, I had found my own voice and my own strength. I had learned to set boundaries, to ask for help when I needed it, to build a community based on genuine care rather than obligation. I had learned that family isn't defined by blood alone, but by who shows up, who cares, who protects. One evening, as Lily and I sat on our porch swing watching the sunset, she asked me a question that caught me off guard. Mom, Are you sad that Aunt Audrey doesn't talk to us anymore? I considered the question carefully. Sometimes I feel sad about it, I admitted. She's my sister, and there were good times when we were growing up. But I'm not sad about the choice I made to protect you. That was the right thing to do, even though it had difficult consequences. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I think you're brave, she said. You stood up for me even when it was hard. I hugged her close. That's what real love is, sweetheart. It's not just about the easy, happy times. It's about protecting the people you love, even when it's difficult, even when it hurts. Like how you protected me from Grandma and Grandpa when they made their bad choice? Exactly like that. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I think I'm a little brave too. I was scared in the park, but I didn't cry too much. And I'm not afraid to see Grandma and Grandpa now, even though I remember what happened. You're incredibly brave, I assured her. Bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what you need to do even when you are scared. As we sat there, watching the sky turn from blue to pink to deep purple, I reflected on the journey we had taken. The betrayal had been painful, the aftermath challenging. But we had emerged stronger, more resilient, with a deeper understanding of what family truly means. Family isn't always defined by blood, but by who truly shows up when it matters most. Our little family of 2 was stronger than any betrayal. And in protecting my daughter, I discovered a strength I never knew I had. Have you ever had to stand up against family to protect someone you love? What would you have done in my situation? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this story if it resonated with you. Remember, true strength often emerges from our most difficult challenges. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps anyone facing similar family struggles know they're not alone.